Welcome back to Question Quills. This is going to be a long one, so stick around. We are going to put together the entire first board, painted, lit, everything. We're going to get the tower on, we're going to get the tree in that we've done so far, and we're going to get all the sewers and everything done as well. So stick around. Like I say, it's going to be a long one. It took a long time because I had to store stuff in the studio, but I'll go into that in a bit. Enjoy, and I'll see you in a bit. What I'm going to start doing is gluing down the bases of the sewer bits. Not the big blocks yet, because I want to put these down and get them in place and get them all kind of set up. A little bit needs shaving off there, so I just need to do that. And then what that will do is it will give me a firm border to work against. I can oil wash these and then start putting these bits on, maybe. So it's just a little bit easier to get into, a little bit less fiddly. I've painted all of these bits with black 3.0 from Culture Hustle, and that should just give it a much deeper depths for just those tunnel bits at the back. I'm not going to worry about lighting too much at the minute because I'm just getting these in. I've printed off a load of the connectors, the open lock clips. These ones are the flexible ones. They come when you get the set, it comes with two, but I can use those to clip it together, and that will just stop. Once it's all stuck down, it will just give it a bit more strength if it's getting bashed about and things like that. I don't technically necessarily need them because it will all be glued down, but I just think they will make it stronger. I'm not going to glue them together because it doesn't need that. It just stops that lateral force going that way. So I'm going to stick these down using contact adhesive. I'm hoping I've got enough here. If not, I'll go and get some more. It's nothing complicated, so I'm not going to show you loads of this because I'm literally putting contact adhesive on the bottom, sticking it down and leveling them out. So we'll come back once I've stuck those down and it's dried, and then we'll start thinking about how we're going to paint these or whether we put the other bits in. I don't want to put the big bits in yet because I think wiring in all of these will be much easier without having the big bits in the way. So we can wire these in with the lights, take that down where we need to, get all that sorted, then we can glue in the big bits, see where we need to thread the wires through there. It's a bit of a kind of chicken and egg situation. Bits need to happen so other bits can happen, but they need to have happened first. So we'll figure it out as we go along. For now, stick these down and then we'll carry on. These are now stuck down. This is following morning. These are all absolutely stuck down solid. I'm going to stick these bits on using some more contact adhesive and the filament peg system that they recommend, that Stormcrow Scenery recommend. It's really cool because they come with all these holes pre-drilled, and then there's the holes on the bottom of the pieces, and they should just slot on. I'm doing that because what I want when I have finished this is I don't want these bits, especially because they're quite delicate, I don't want them to be able to be knocked inwards, particularly when I'm getting stuff in and out of the boxes or when the children are playing with them. And that filament just gives them a bit of kind of support laterally that way and then this way. So I'm going to apply a load of contact adhesive here on the contact points and stick these down, and then that should be nice and solid. I'm using contact adhesive rather than super glue because I don't want an instant stick. I want it to still be slightly movable so that once I've put them all down I can put some of the panels on top and check that these pegs on top of here line up with the holes on the bottom of the pieces that go on top, because there's always going to be some measurement kind of inaccuracy with this board that was cut by B&Q. I think this is probably about 1 millimeter too big. Between the printer dimensional accuracy might be out by 0.5 millimeter. There's always going to be little things, so you can see there's some gaps here. But what I will do is once everything's stuck down, I'll go and get some green stuff or some epoxy putty, and I will just fill in the bits that you can see on these and just sculpt them in with that, and then we'll kind of paint them up to match everything else before we do all the oil washes and stuff like that. So I'm going to go around and stick all these on, epoxy putty those bits, and then we'll come back and we'll get started with the painting. Well, actually first we'll do the wiring, then we'll get started with the painting. Right, we've got to the point where I need to try and wire in as much of this as possible. I've extended some of the cables, some of the wires where I need to. I'll probably need to do some more. I just did the same thing, super glue, heat shrink. I'm going to be using a very old soldering iron just to poke holes where I need to, because this is now a logistics problem of trying to figure out where the wires are going to go. This bit has got to go into there, and I'm going to use this cavity in here to try to store all of the wire in, and then I'll go down through the bottom of this, out through the board, and that I'm hoping then I can just have one single set of wires going down underneath the board. Everything else can be wired in here, and as long as they're all secure using these clips, that should be fine. So I need to get all the holes kind of in here. I've cut just a hole there in the corner so that these ones coming from this corner piece can go through. They'll go into there, that's fine. So I just need to poke some holes for the rest of it really now, and I'm hoping that'll be fairly straightforward. I really like using, again, these acrylic marker pens. I used them in the last video. They're just really handy just for putting a quick dot where something needs to go, in a way that is going to stay there. Like a pencil won't really mark these. So I've got a couple of lines on there, so I know I need to poke through about there, poke through about there, and then that should give me the holes I need for those wires. I know that when I put this on here, I need to just burn out a channel somewhere around about there so that these can drop down. So I can't do that. It's not ideal, it's not brilliant work. I'm going to put the extractor fan on, I'm going to put my mask on, I'm going to burn those out and connect all the wires up, and then we'll come back when I'm in a little bit of a different position. Because the other thing I need to do is, as well as tidy up, is think about these corner pieces. So this is going to go there, and when that goes there, the piece that goes here will be this, no, where's it gone? This piece. But between them, and this is what I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do yet, is there will be that bit. Right, let's just check this is all on camera, check I'm in shot. Yeah, that's a bit better. So these pillars need to go here, and the pillars have got a space for a light on them from the braziers, and they're already got holes in the back, which is great. I did consider reprinting these with a hole in the bottom so I could just run a wire down and through the floor, but I just think if I can find a way to get them there. Now I can't sneak it behind here because there's not enough space. So what I think I'm going to do is stick everything in, stick these bases on, and then again use the soldering iron and just push through a hole maybe, or use a drill, and kind of figure out a way to just thread a wire through the back. Shouldn't be too difficult. It is just a case of making a channel. It's just what is the best way to do that. And I think if I stick everything in, stick all these bits down first, it will be a lot more solid to kind of drill through and push against, and it will just be a little bit easier. So I'm going to melt the channels, I'm going to get everything on this side wired in, and then we'll come back when I get to the point where I need to put these in. So I'll probably stick this stuff down first once I've got that wired in, but we'll see how we go. I might be back in a bit. These two then I've joined into connectors with a wire going through into there. So that's this one and this one. This LED goes across here and into there. These two come through at the back. You can see where I've dug in things. This is where I melted out the channel for the wire on the base of the tower, where that's going to come through, and that'll sit in there. And then we'll go through a hole there, but I can put that on later once I've painted all of these. And then the big job, well not big job, but the next job is just going to be to combine all of these in here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 red wires, if you will, 4 black wires, so they can go into one of these 5 blocks, and then the 5th one will be the one that goes down through the base. What that leaves is a shortage for the pillars that go in. But I've got 4 pillars, I think, and if I bring all of those into the middle, then those 4 can go into a separate one of these, and then I can just have 2 wires going down. I have pre-drilled a hole down here, so that there's a hole in the base, so that I know where to drill up, so that I can drill up a hole in here, because I can't get my drill inside here. So I've got the connectors down there. I'm going to put some contact adhesive on the base, push this in, glue it in place, connect the wires up, and then we'll check that they work and that the lights work. So we'll come back once that's glued down. Right, everything's wired in underneath there, and that will all push back. Got a couple of wires just coming out to the power bank at the moment. So what that means is that when I turn on the power pack, we should have, yeah, so we've got the lights coming around here. Now one thing I have noticed, which is annoying, is that the ones under here I've pulled slightly through into the wall, which is annoying, so I need to find a way to poke those back. But I'll figure out a way to do that. But what it also means, this should now be powered in. So I should, in theory, be able to place this on. Yeah. Line it up. And they all work as well. Now there's not enough draw on the power pack at the moment to keep them on all the time. So it keeps switching off. What I might do now they're all in. If I turn off all the filming lights, get a better idea of what it will look like. I'm glad I went for the green lights under the sewer. I think they look really cool. And they might not be the worst thing there. I might be able to figure out something for those two. But I will try and poke them out. There will be a way. But I think that is looking really cool so far. And the lights on there are looking cool. We're getting a bit of cast off from the coloured light over here. That's on in the background. But yeah, really pleased. So that's the wiring done on the top for this board. It needs to go under. I still need to do the torches, which are going to be interesting. The braziers on the pillars. I might still reprint these with a tunnel going down through the base so that I can just drop a wire through. It's not even the fact that it means reprinting them with the filament. What the main annoyance is, it's going to be a lot of wires at the bottom. I might set out the board and see where they're going to sit and then work out the best way to wire around it. But the first job is I'm going to try and push those green lights through, and then I'm going to have a play with the pillars. And I'll let this dry. That's now glued down, so I'm going to let it dry. I'm not going to do any more until that's stuck. And then we'll come back and see where we need to be. For applying the oil wash, I'm going to go with the black oil wash as normal. This is just for the underworld bits. I'm not going to do anything on top yet. I'm going to leave that until the end. I'm going to apply this like I did on the tower, just really liberally. It's quite a thin black oil wash. And I'm going to apply that, and then I'm going to go round and use some of these villainy inks and the streaking grime just to dot it like I did on the tower, to bring in a load of variation and colour. Whilst I'm doing this, I've just realised I need to put I need to block off the door at this end because it goes through to there, so I'll have to come back to that and do an oil wash, but I'll do that tomorrow. So I'm doing this last thing at night. It's nearly about 10 o'clock at night now, so I'm doing this now, so that hopefully it'll be dry by the end of tomorrow. I'm out all day tomorrow, and then I'm hoping when I come back tomorrow I'll be able to do a bit more on it, and it'll be in a good position because it'll all be dry. So I'm going to go around, put all the black stuff on first, try and get in all the nooks and crannies, which is why I haven't put any of the tops on these yet, because then I can tip it up if I need to. I can really go in and kind of do all the line work with this. So yeah, let's start doing some oil painting. The good thing is about just doing a black oil wash to begin with is that this just sets the base. So this is just kind of the base work of all the colour, and I can go back in later, like paint all these ropes and things like that. I don't want them to be oil washed, so I will go in and highlight those later to make them stand out a little bit more. I've pulled out the LEDs as far as I can so that they don't end up getting too much oil wash on them, because it would just make them look a bit murky. It's not the end of the world, because it will just make them look a bit smokier with the light, I think. So yeah, we'll get all of this done, and And then we'll start to dot in some of the colours as well and see what they look like. Okay, so we're going to use Caput Mortem and Carrion Crimson from Villainy Inks. And I'm just going to drop these into the mix, into the wet mix, and just... So this is a red one that I think doesn't need huge amounts, although I put quite a bit in there. But it, as it flows out with the white spirits, I think we'll give it a stained, maybe blood-soaked floor. We'll see what it looks like when it sets, when it dries in the morning. But it could end up being too much. But the beauty, again, like I said before, of these is that they can just be wiped off with a bit of white spirit, kind of smudged around. We'll see what the Carrion Crimson looks like. So it might be a little bit more red. I think it's going to be a little bit pink. I might not like this one as much. It's a little bit weaker. I don't think I've mixed it quite as good, but yeah, I might leave that one. And I'm going to go get the green one, and we'll try the green one and blend that in with it as well. So we'll try Vile Tinge Green as well, and this should give it a kind of a mossy look. This was the one we used on the sample when we did the test corner as well. You know, focusing these mainly on the floor, on the ground. And I will go for the streaking grime on the walls more than anything. But what I am going to do now I've put those down is take the brush that had the black and just kind of stipple it all around just to blend it all in. Now we will go for the streaking grime, put this on the tops of the walls and pull it down, and then we'll go back over with some white spirits with the black brush again, just see it, pull it down, because this stuff goes on thick. So I'm not doing neat, same as with the tower, just splodging it on higher up, because this is the kind of stuff that's just going to run down the mould with the algae there. But you don't want too much, because otherwise then when you wash it with the white spirits, it'll just cover the whole thing in just a weak layer of it. But again, it's a good way of unifying these doors next to each other. You can bring those in together. Right, so we'll get some white spirits in a cup. Go with the same brush and just bring it down, just wash it over it. Again, can come back in later, even tomorrow. If I don't like how this sets overnight, how it dries. It's quite hard to see the light. With the camera, this is a problem, I can't quite view it at the right angle, but we'll get there. And like the name suggests, it just adds all that grime to the wall. Right, to fill in this doorway, I started just by throwing down some gravel mix that I'd got, one of the Geek Game Scene mixes. Stuck that down with Mod Podge and then some sealant mix just to kind of hold it all in place. Then I started by just scoring some lollipop sticks, just with the end of some snips really, just to give it a bit more of a wood grain. Tried using a wire brush, but it didn't really work. So I just went in and kind of randomly scored them all, which gave it a good effect. Cut them to length and then split the sides just to give them more of a plank feel so they weren't as smooth and not as even on each side. Super glued them in place just to block off the door, because normally this would lead to another sewer. I haven't got another sewer there, so I wanted to block it off so it didn't look weird. Painted down with some grime mixed with white spirits, and then stuck the braziers into place over the LEDs. Later on I filled these with hot glue just to kind of give them more of a flame look, but other than that I'm just sticking them in place at the minute. I've given everything a coat of matte varnish just to seal in all the oil paints and things like that. And what I'm going to attempt now is to use hot glue to hold the LEDs in place in the braziers, but also create a bit of a flame look. That's my plan. I haven't tried this before. I'm not sure how well it's going to go, so I'm just going to do one. And then we will see how it goes. I've also put some green stuff in just to fill the cracks here. I didn't bother with that one, that was a narrow crack. But most of these splits in between the different sections are filled with green stuff. I'll go over and paint those in a little bit. So if I just get the lights back on. Hang on, one of the crocodile clips has come loose. So I want them just inside the hole. Let's try and... It's quite hot glue, so it might, I don't know if I'll be able to get the peak that I want. Might not give it the flame look, but it does look quite... it disperses the light a little bit, so I'm probably going to do them all and just leave it like that. But just got to be careful because the hot tip of the gun will also melt this delicate stuff around here and the glue. So I've just got to try and make sure it stays in shape. So I'm going to do the rest of those off of camera, because I think if I try and do them all on camera, I will end up melting something. Right. We're at the point now where I need to start getting the tops on here. So the last thing I need to do, other than just painting the green stuff to match, is I need to put these grates into these. Now I've painted these grates. Oh, that's focusing on my fingers. Let's see if I can get it to focus on the actual grates. That'll be even better. Get my hands out of the way. There you go. So I've painted the grates silver, and then dry brushed them with, well, not dry brushed them, I put the dirty down yellow rust on, and then dry brushed them with riser rust from Games Workshop, because I want these to be brighter than the other rusty things, because that way when you look at them against the dark tunnel, your eyes will be drawn to the brightly coloured metal rather than the tunnel, so the tunnels will look deeper, and it will help the black 3.0 that I painted at the back just to make everything look really dark in there and really deep. So the bright colours of these draws the eyes a little bit better. I'm just going to do these really simply. I'm going to do this first one, but I'm probably going to do the rest off camera because they're going to be really, really fiddly, I think, to get in. This is where having super glue on a brush helps. It would help if I had tweezers, so I wasn't worried that I'm actually going to cut through this beam. But what I want to get is these in. Properly. There we go. And so there's about 5 of these dotted throughout. Once I've done these, that will just finish off the kind of underworld. Before I paint in the river and put all the tops on, one last thing I need to do is to put these pillars in between here, because this is a bit of a puzzle to try and work around, because the way I've got it set up, I could wire that one in, put that in, put that one in, and wire that one in, but then this won't fit in without that coming out. So I could put that in, but that won't fit with that there. So what I've got to try and do is wire these two are going to go into these joiners in here, which will hopefully work. Then I can start to try and put this one in, and I can still just about get into the connectors in here. It's a bit dark, you can't really see it on the camera. So this one can go there, that can get drilled into that bit, which can get put in, and if that's there, then maybe I can work it, I'm not sure, because that will be on there. So it's a bit of a puzzle to try and work it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into try this. I'm going to go into like a hyper, what are they called? You know what I mean, where it's really fast. It's really, I'm retired, it's late, so I'm going to go into one of those things. I'm going to try and do it. If it ends up being rubbish, I'll cut it out, because I might just end up standing in front of the camera. But we'll see how we get on. We'll see how long it takes. It could be a faff. Right, we're at the stage now where I can apply the oil wash to everything on here. Whilst I do this, I thought I'd just give you a bit of an update as to why this video is taking so long to come out. And partly it's because I've been really busy with work, which is great. It's always good to have lots of work. It's always a good place to be. So that's just taken a lot of time. Sometimes I've been coming up here to do some work on this, and I've kind of got maybe a little bit did. I managed to do a little bit of the wiring, or I've managed to do a bit of sticking the board down, a bit of cutting and sticking, like being at school. But yes, I've not really had a good run over pretty much the whole of November at getting lots done in a day, which has slowed everything down. Another thing, as you can tell by what I'm wearing, is that now here in the UK, it has gone really cold. Now, obviously, you know, if you're living somewhere like Canada or some of the States or things like that, not that cold. But in terms of here in the UK, where we are ill-equipped for really cold weather, it's really affected drying times. So I put some filler just in between the cracks of the tiles yesterday to just kind of fill those gaps, and that took pretty much until today to dry. So that's taken 24 hours really for that to dry. That was until this morning, so I could put the grey paint on it to kind of tie it in a little bit. Then that grey paint that I put on took a few hours to dry, and then I was out all day doing some work. So it's taking a long time for stuff to dry. This oil paint that I'm putting on now, I'm doing this on a Wednesday afternoon, and it probably won't be dry enough for me to start going on top of with the snow. I wouldn't say until, well, at least 24 hours later, maybe even 48 hours later. So it's just, everything is just slow. The glue, like the contact adhesive that I use to stick these boards down, is taking longer than normal. So that it just slows everything down a little bit. What I am finding now, because I put the filler in the middle, is that where I've got all the snow from this board that I already did, I'm just going back over that with an oil wash, because I can sprinkle more snow over it later and tie it all in, so I don't need to worry too much about that. What I've also realised I've not done is put the caps onto these things. I've printed those up and haven't painted them, I haven't primed them yet or dry brushed them, so they'll be something that I add on later. What I want to do, again, I could have done this in several videos, I could have done it as kind of just bits and pieces and just got it half done, but I really am impressed with this set, and at this point I just want to make sure I can show everything that it comes with. So I've printed off some of the scatter train it comes with as well. I'm going to get that painted up to put on here just for kind of the reveal shots at the end, even if I don't stick it in, or don't stick it down as a permanent feature of this board. So I just want to make sure that everything I'm kind of showing is the best it can be, and I think that's probably worth waiting for a little bit. I've no idea how long this video will end up being, because it's quite hard when you're doing this to see what's going to come out in the edit. I imagine it will be a long one, but whether it's a really long one or kind of a half an hour one, we shall see. But for now, I'm just absolutely covering everything in the oil wash. These roofs on these, actually, I'm going to go back in and do with some sort of like coppering effect, with some copper paint, and I'll do that later. I might give them another oil wash on top of the copper, might go over them with, I've got some of the dirty down. Oh, what's the stuff called on copper? I can't remember what it's called now. Where it goes onto the turquoisey stuff that goes on. I don't know, you know what I mean. So I've got some of that dirty down, which I will give it a go as well. I think on there. These look really cool. I think sat on here, they finish it off nicely. Just making sure I give everything this dark shade wash. I'm not on these going to go overboard or even bother really with like the villainy inks for now, because a lot of this is going to be covered with snow. It's not like in the underground bits where everything's still going to be on show. Most of the stuff up here will be, like I say, snowed over, or I am going to put some moss and stuff like that onto the walls, and have some creeper vines and things like that just to give it some colour, but I'll do that after I've done this. Again, I keep having these different bits that I just want to add, could be separate videos, but I just think at this point now I may as well carry on and do it all as one big release, one big video, just to kind of tie it all together. So I'm going to come around there and stop the camera, because otherwise you're just going to get my back and things like that. But that's why it's taken so long. Once I finish the oil wash, which is looking nice, I will do the sewage water under there, because I still haven't done that. Again, waiting for everything under there to dry, waiting for everything to be stuck down. And then we'll look at doing the foliage. And then I think, I say that now, we're more or less finished. I'll do the copper up there as well and things like that. But yeah, I think we'll be finished by then. We're getting to the end of doing the build. Everything now is a little bit chaotic. The new storage shed arrived today that I'm going to put all of my Quest and Quill stuff in. But we didn't get time to put it up. It's not going to be put up until next week. So at the minute, because we want to put all the Christmas stuff up at the weekend, it's kind of everything is now just stored everywhere in here. My tripod is kind of somewhere on the other side over there, so I can't reach that, which is why I'm hand-holding at the moment. So yeah, it's just a bit chaotic, but by next week everything will be hopefully more sorted and back to normal. Quick job now. The other thing, like I took the lights out because I was doing some filming for something else, so I've only got one light at the minute, so everything's a little bit darker than normal. I've painted these with kind of a mix of metallic red paints from Tooth and Coats. I didn't go for copper in the end, I went for metallic red, which I really like. I'm just going to put another oil wash, black oil over the top, just to kind of fade it back in, give it a bit more of a vignette effect in the corners. I'm really pleased with how the red oil wash has worked on these tiles. I think there's a little bit of plaster there, I'll dig that up. But I think for this, the eagle thing, I'm probably going to go, I might go for like a bronze or something on that and just dry brush it on so it looks kind of cool. I'm going to put the oil wash on here, then I'm going to use this swamp gel stuff and just paint in under that. I did think about doing a full resin pour, but this, I don't trust the seals I did with the green stuff, and there's kind of a gap down there, so it just won't work. So this stuff, I'll just paint this in. It won't go matte this time because I won't put a varnish on there. I'm going to do all that. I've got to do that off camera because I don't have a tripod anymore. Like I say, it's somewhere behind all of that. But it's basically painting it in. It's an easy job. So oil wash, paint that in. Then we're on to snow. Then I think I'm going to call it for this board. I'm going to put a load of foliage stuff on there, but I might do that as a separate video, or I might put that on, we'll see, and then do all the kind of scatter train as a separate video. We'll see how we get on. Let's do these bits first. Okay, we're finally ready to put the last touches on to the board. This has killed me. The last week and a half, 2 weeks, I haven't been able to even get near it because everything's been stored in the studio, ready for the shed to be put up and stocked. The shed's now up, so I can finally get on with this. And what I'm going to do today is stick a load of, well, not a load, but some dead grass tufts on there. We're going to do some moss mix just by mixing this moss and Mod Podge. So this is kind of just scatter flop. I'm going to mix this with Mod Podge, put that into some of the corners around it, and then I'm going to climb some of this stuff up, which is the same stuff as I used on the tree. It's the Woodland Scenics foliage. This is the late fall colour, and I'm just going to stick this again, just climbing up a little bit. It's just to tie in with the tree that is over here. I'm going to work my way around putting those on. I've still got to paint up these caps to go on there. They're going to get spray paint with black, then dry brush, grey and ivory. They're going to get stuck on. Then it'll be the snow, and then we're finished. So we're going to get all of that done today. Let's get into it. Right, so in the end, I ended up using the high tack, quick tack glue for the vines and that, because it just set a lot quicker, like it stuck a lot quicker, rather than Mod Podge. So I'm going to use some of this Dirty Down verdigris on the roofs. Even though I went slightly metallic red rather than pure copper, I am interested to see how this falls. And I'm just going to let it drip on and run. It's a bit like the rust, I think, that you can go back in afterwards and reactivate it with water to make it flow a little bit better if you need to, and dab it and give it slightly softer edges. I'm interested to see what it looks like. I've not used it before, so this is the first time. We will let all of that stuff dry. I'll let the verdigris dry. Come back in a few hours and see how everything is. Then hopefully we should be ready for snow, and then we're done. That's the last bit. I've spray painted, I've primed the caps now, so they're ready. I just need to dry brush them and then they can go on there. Right, I've applied Mod Podge everywhere I want snow to go. Not everywhere, because I want some of the stonework to show through at the bottom. On all the flat surfaces though, now we are going to sprinkle some snow powder. The 3D printer's going in the background, apologies for that. Yeah, here we go, final step. And hopefully, it's not going to, I mean it's going to go everywhere and be able to pick up any spare at the end. So I'm going to cast this over everything. A bit like icing sugar, and this should finish it off nicely. Once this is all done, we'll lock it all down with scenic sealant. I'm hoping to get a little bit fall through the manhole cover there. We're going to leave it there. I'll let all that set. So it's now, it's on the evening, so it's not going to be set tonight. I'll let it set overnight, and then I'll come down in the morning, scenic sealant it, and while that all sets, I'll paint the edges black, and then we're done. We're finally done! Okay, while we wait for that to dry, I want to give a big thank you to Stormcrow Scenery, who have, you know, like I say, given me these files for free so that I can do this board. If you want to support them, which you should, support them more than me on this one because it's taken so long, head over to the Stormcrow Scenery Kickstarter. I'll put the link in the thing. It's going great guns at the minute, but it always needs more support. Head over there, go show them some love. Even if you can't afford it or you don't want the files, if you've not got a 3D printer, just spread the word to other people who have. It all helps with a Kickstarter. Like I said, they've been absolutely brilliant. I love the stuff. Next time you see this, I'll have sealed this down, I'll have done the black thing, and it will be the final reveals for this board. So I'll see you for that.